seriously. We had a perfect phone call with the president of Ukraine. Everybody knows it. It's just a Democrat witch hunt. Here we go again. They failed with Russia. They failed with recession. They failed with everything. And now they're bringing this up. The one who's got the problem is Biden. Because you look at what Biden did. Biden did what they would like to have me do, except for one problem. I didn't do it. What Biden did is a disgrace. What his son did is a disgrace. The son took money from Ukraine. The son took money from China. A lot of money from China. China would love to see. They could think of nothing they'd rather see than Biden get in, because they will take this great deal that we're about to make, and they would really have themselves a deal for themselves. So let me just tell you, what Biden did was wrong.
Now, that hasn't stopped calls for Trump's execution.
Well, they're having a meeting today. Right. Well, and it started because President Trump said this.
If a Republican ever did what Joe Biden did, if a Republican ever said what Joe Biden said, they'd be getting the electric chair by right now.
Yeah, and Bill Weld's all for that.
Talk about pressuring a foreign country to interfere with and control a U.S. election. It couldn't be clearer. And that's not just undermining democratic institutions. That is treason. It's treason pure and simple. And the penalty for treason under the U.S. Code is death. That's the only penalty. The penalty under the Constitution is removal from office, and that might look like a pretty good alternative to the president if he could work out a plea deal.
Right. So President Trump's on the clock, either plead out or be executed under President Bill Weld. Now, that's a call for his, I don't know, removal /
execution,
demise. Didn't stop Trump from having some fun while he was at the UN yesterday in taking questions from the Pakistani press. He talked a little bit about his potential role in trying to work out an accord between India and Pakistan over Kashmir, and had this to say.
Now, if
Go ahead, make a
you
statement.
can solve this outstanding issue of Kashmir, very likely and definitely you will be deserving a Nobel Prize on that.
I think I'll get a Nobel Prize for a lot of things.
Mr. President,
I think I'm going to get a Nobel Prize for a lot of things if they gave it out fairly, which they don't.
Yeah.
They gave it out. Well, they gave one to Obama immediately upon his ascent to the presidency, and he had no idea why he got it. And you know what? That was the only thing I agreed with him on.
Yeah,
Well, somebody nominated Obama.
I think President Trump wants that Nobel Prize.
You think?
Jed Babbin, former U.S. Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times, the American Spectator, joins us now. Jed, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Well, we're just living the dream, guys.
We are. So should Trump plead out, or should he run the gauntlet and risk execution?
No, someone ought to have Bill Weld's, psychiatric profile done. The man has kind of lost it. I mean, there's no crime here. Not only is there no crime here, there's absolutely no wrongdoing in what we know about what Trump did with Zelensky in that conversation with the Ukrainian president. There's absolutely nothing here. There's not even there's even less than there was in the Russia collusion narrative, because there's so few things to support it. And, even the Russian documents had nothing to do with it either. So the whole thing is just a steaming pile, guys.
So
There's no rationale.
So even
to it.
CNN, Washington Post, CBS, they said that President Trump asked his acting chief of staff to put almost $400 million in military aid for Ukraine on hold about a week before the July 25th phone call. And there's nothing nefarious about that.
Well, I mean, we don't know that there's any quid pro quo, Amy. I mean, the fact of the matter is, even if there were a quid pro quo, we don't know what the trade-off was. We don't know what Mr. Trump demanded of Zelensky. We don't know that he demanded anything. But the real point here is this whole whistleblower allegation is totally suspect. It is entirely suspect. If you remember, the press reports have told us that it's based on hearsay. The complainant did not have direct knowledge of anything asserted in the complaint. So that complainant was told by someone of the events, maybe given some documents, maybe said, hey, he or she, maybe you really ought to make this complaint to the IG. We'll tell you how. It's a put-up job, Amy. It's really entirely suspect.
Well, I mean, the only way to resolve this, it seems to me, Jed, is to have him removed from office, and then we'll figure it out later.
Oh, sure, yeah. Why not? Just go the way Bill Weld suggests, string them up, and we'll worry.
I mean,
Well, we need transcripts of the phone
laughable.
calls.
no,
Don't- I mean,
no. Why
won't
do we
that
need?
put
Why
to
do we
rest?
need?
No,
Why
no,
do? Why
Amy.
do we need transcripts? We can just make wild
Well,
assertions about what could have happened and base our decisions on that.
Well, yeah, and that's basically what the Democrats want. But Amy, think about this: if you release that transcript, if Trump does, that would be a huge mistake. What national leader is going to talk to the President of the United States if the transcript of that conversation is going to be released just because some jackass president, some guy in the press or some whistleblower demands that it be released? You cannot have the president hamstrung in conversations with foreign leaders by having transcripts released. That's just entirely wrong. It's wrong for policy. It's wrong for the presidency. It's wrong for the United States.
Well, what's the possibility that Ukraine's going to release the conversation?
Well, that may happen. They've already released parts of it, or at least Zelensky has commented on it. So, we can't prevent that, but we can prevent
Well, you
the
can't.
release on our side.
What if it was, hey, Zelensky, you release that transcript and
There goes your
you're
foreign aid.
jeopardizing your support from this country? Would that be another illicit quid pro quo that would have the Hill all aflutter?
Oh, yeah, and that, if it were proved and if somebody knew that had happened, yeah, that would be a problem. But it's no worse than what happens all the time in international relations. And again, even if Trump did this on the basis of political gain, there is no reason to say that he was trying to get Ukraine to interfere in our election. It's not like the Russians came in and did in 2016, advertising falsely, getting false Facebook accounts, making their propaganda into a thing across the media spectrum. I mean, that's not what Trump was asking for. Even if he was asking for political information, there's nothing wrong with that. Hey, it's politics.
Well, this is, yeah. So I got two questions, but let me just start. Wall Street Journal suggests you might as well release the transcript because it's going to get leaked anyway, which is a real commentary in the intelligence community. But what about the, do it and get out in front of it argument?
No, again, it's wrong because you have to look at the bigger picture. It's not just this one stupid incident. You cannot have the President of the United States under the threat that he cannot keep anything confidential.
Yeah.
He has to be able to have confidences. You have to have secrets between heads of state. That's just a fundamental portion of maintaining our democracy. And if he releases that transcript, that would be a devastating mistake.
I want to pick up on something you were just mentioning, that this is politics. We were talking about this earlier in the show. And there's a lot of phony Pollyannas on the Hill, aren't there? The idea,
You think?
I mean, the idea, but this specific idea, which I don't think has gotten enough airtime, the idea that presidents don't include a domestic political calculus in their foreign policy making, the decision making in the foreign arena, that's just absurd. Of course they do.
Well, it is absurd. Of course it is. And, there's a lot of other things going on in here. They're saying now that this whistleblower's complaint needs to be released to the Hill because it's absolutely urgent and compelling, yada, yada, yada. Two things on that. Number one, the IG, the Inspector General of the intelligence community, only has jurisdiction over things that happened within the intelligence community. This guy has no reason and actually no authority to investigate anything that went on in the White House. Period. End of story. And the other question really comes down to they're now pressuring or trying to pressure Vice Admiral Joe McGuire, the new acting director of national intelligence, to get up there and say, well, we're going to release this thing to you. I know McGuire. I knew him when he was president of the Special Operations Warrior Foundation. I helped them raise money for the past 20 years. And, the fact of the matter is Joe McGuire is the straightest of straight shooters. He's getting good advice from his lawyers and the Justice Department. So restricting this so-called whistleblower's complaint, again, which is not something that happened within the intelligence community, is entirely correct under the law.
What about what Joe Biden did and how he steered, millions of dollars to his son to put him on this energy board?
Well, it ought to be investigated, Amy. It sounds sleazy. I mean, it's typical Washington politics. Look, this is how you get rich when you come to Washington. Your dad gets elected vice president or senator or something like that. You set up a consulting company, and then you sell your services. Really what you're selling is access to your dad. and that is you get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars by foreign governments for that.
Wait a second.
Millions. So this is legal.
You're
What he did was
saying
legal.
you're saying Hunter Biden was only paid because his last name is Biden? Oh, Jed.
I know, shocking, ain't it?
I mean, this is the funny thing is listening to senators like Chris Coons say, "Oh, this is just Hillary emails redux." Yeah, but not in the way you think, Senator Coons. This is Hillary emails redux, and it's Clinton Foundation redux. It's personal enrichment, and it's conflict of interest, and those aren't that difficult to follow, really.
You're absolutely right, with one exception. Hillary emails was a federal frickin' crime.
Yes, right.
And I will go to my grave insisting that she should have been locked up, because every time a classified bit of information was extended or transferred along that private email system, that was a violation of the law, 18 U.S. Code Section 793F, just because we're going to be specific. And each one is punishable by 10 years in jail.
Right, but
that is felonious conduct, and there's absolutely no excuse for that.
Right, and Jim Comey had to invent an intent standard in order to avoid prosecuting her. But this is the point. Now, what Democrats on the Hill trying to recast the Hillary emails as clean bill of health. There was nothing to see here. It was all drummed up by the right.
Hey, don't forget there was never a scandal in the Obama administration's time in office.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So your posture, if you were one of the Trump senior advisors, you would be say, look, you can't set this precedent for the reasons that you have already explained, and this should be full-on pushback. DNI should be pushed back, and the Oval Office should be pushed back.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I would tell the president, if you release that transcript, I will resign.
Wow.
Because it's that big a deal.
All right. He is Jed Babbin, former U.S. Deputy Undersecretary of Defense, contributor to the Washington Times and the American Spectator. Check out his latest piece, which I'll tweet out, Whistleblowing in the Wind, on topic. Jed, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Always fun with you.
Take care.
Thanks. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
If you have pain, I hope you listen up. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. You don't need to live in pain. Let me repeat that. You do not have to live in pain. Chronic pain is the worst, whether it's from